it also gives you the confidence, I think, again, that you can set out on that road yourself. I believe in practice again. This is why I believe disruption is a learned skill. You can always be more disruptive. And I like to say, you're doing it right when your palms are a little sweaty and your stomach is a little churning. So I think I shared a little bit with you before that I do cliff jumping as a way to test myself, to push myself. I get my palms are sweating a little bit.
Your palms better be sweaty.
Yeah, because it is. I love it. I love that. My favorite amusement park ride was called the Drop Zone. When they haul you up 30 feet and then you don't know when it's going to happen, they just drop you. I love that ride. The acceleration into my stomach and 100% safe. Right.
So just describe. So cliff jumping, you have a parachute or what?
No, it's not that bad. But I started just jumping off of cliffs into water, like 5 feet off a rock into a river,
Okay.
You're ready?
Okay. All right. So welcome. Today we have an amazing guest. I'm actually surprised that you're here, but we'll talk about that. But Charlene Li, and this is maybe if I am the student, you are the teacher when it comes to disruption. I love disruption. I live disruption, but you have taken it to a whole different level, and you've interviewed everybody, and you've talked about disruption in multiple spaces, especially in business, and wrote the wonderful book, which we'll talk about, Disruption Mindset. But you are here today to talk to us. I'll remind everybody what Less Than 1% is about. It's really trying to find all of those people that are disrupting in the world, that are making a difference, and that are really challenging themselves and challenging the world to be different than we are, especially in this time and age. You have to do disruption the right way. And so I think that we're going to have a great conversation. So if you're listening, if you're watching, please get through our podcast today. And with that, I'll say welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm excited to be here.
I always tell people, when people decide to come on, I'm like, why did you come? But seriously, you heard about the podcast where you're going to speak to Vituity later on this year. But what made you say, you know what, Moo, I'm going to come and hang out with you for an hour?
Well, I happen to be in the neighborhood, so that helped. That was easy.
Right.
But I don't run into many disruptors, people who make it the center of their existence, of their life, personal work, everything, and define themselves that way. So this is a huge pleasure and excitement for me to be able to spend this time with you. So
thank you.
Wouldn't miss it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We talked earlier about one of the instincts I have personally, and I think it's manifest in our organization, is disagreeableness. It's the idea that everything is wrong. Like Malcolm Gladwell, you are my favorite, but the idea, Malcolm writes about, hey, the world is like this and it's wrong and here's why. But that disagreeableness is something that, I don't know if you can teach it. Is it something intrinsic? I don't know. But I would ask you in that same vein, is disruption something intrinsic? Is it something that's just part of you, or can you learn how to do it?
I think there's something that you are born with, this sense of curiosity of what could be, right? And there's a definite sense that just because it is this way doesn't mean it always has to be this way. So how could it be different, better? But in particular, better. This is not about disrupting and disagreeing just to disagree. So there's a difference, right? We all run across disagreeable people, and they're annoying because they're annoying as heck because they're just being disruptive for the sake of being disruptive, to call attention to themselves.
Right.
It is not from a place of trying to make things better, to make someone else better, to make themselves better, to make the world better, a situation better, a person better. So disagreeableness is focused disagreeableness, focused disruption to an ends. It is a means.
Is it a positive? Is it a positive process?
Well, I look at disruption as being neutral. right? It is neither negative or positive. It is how you deal with it. It's how you look at it that makes it a positive output. So I think one of the things we'll talk about is optimism. So if you are looking at disruption as a way to build something, to say, again, this is the way we do things around here. Why? Why do we do things around here this way?
Right.
Let's question that. Is this the best way? Could we be doing it differently? That, by definition, is disagreeable. It's disruptive, and people just like rolling their eyes back, going like, "Again, you're doing this again." And the tolerance for that versus, oh, well, that's a good question. Why do we do things this way? How could we be doing things differently? So I think from a young age, I was always constantly saying, well, why does that happen? Why does this? Why do we do this? And I remember
You're one of those
I'm like really those kids, just like, why? And I would sit in their station wagon. It was a, Country Squire Ford station wagon with a wood paneling. And I'd be like, I wish I could tell the car at a little dashboard. This is like ages ago. Saying, I wish the car could just drive itself. My parents could push a button, swivel those seats around and talk to me. We're at that age now.
Wow.
But it was imagining like, what if my parents didn't have to drive? The car could drive themselves and we could have more family.
Right.
That's disagreeable, disruptive thinking.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, do you take credit for the self-driving?
Absolutely.
The Waymos that are
absolutely not. I enjoy riding the Waymos. But it's, again, I think it's that ability to think about what could be possible. And then saying, in order for the possible to happen, you have to blow up the present.
Now, you're not just I kind of joke with a lot of authors. I think there's two types of authors in the nonfiction, business be better space, as I call it, right? There's people who are professors in theory and, studiers. And then there's people who have done it and then study it, which I think in some ways gives you a little bit, I wouldn't say credence, it gives you more of an understanding of how things. So you're pretty accomplished before these theories. Can you tell us about, you're not, I was going to say, you're not just a participant, you're also the president.
Yeah. Well, I've been writing as an analyst since 1999.
Wow.
So, and even before then, I came out of business school in 1993. I came out of Harvard Business School and decided to go into the exciting, thrilling business of newspapers. People are like, what are you doing? And I went, it was 1993. The World Wide Web had just been invented. I went to Silicon Valley and said, I'm going to be at the front edge of disruption. I'm going to be at a company that is going to be disrupted. Newspapers are going to go online. And the entire business model is going to change. And I went, there aren't very many places where it was going to happen as quickly. And also the mission and the purpose of newspapers, of journalism, is extremely important to our society.
Right.
So how are we going to preserve that mission and change the business model at the same time? So I went in there, got my hands dirty. I did that for 5 years and then became an analyst, again, studying the internet and how it would change our world. And so I've been blogging since 2004.
You've been doing it for a while.
Long time now.
Yeah.
And wrote literally one of the first books on how companies can use social media. So I just kept looking at coverage areas. And as soon as it got developed, I would hand it over to somebody and go, people are like, you don't want to do this anymore? Like, well, I've been there, done that. I want to look at the new stuff.
You're in that disruptive space where you like the change moment. You don't, once it's at steady state, it's
not very interesting anymore.
Yeah. Change agent.
So again, and then I was an analyst at Forrester for almost 10 years. And I had just done pretty much everything. And I wanted to do something different. I wanted to write in a different way. And my vision of how the work should be done was very different than Forrester's. I'm like, with all due respect, I'm going to go off and do my own thing. So again, there are behemoths in that space.
Yeah.
You have Gartner, Forrester, IDC, and then there was me. Like, how am I going to carve a path? And so I decided we had to be disruptive. So looking at a blue ocean strategy.
Yeah.
Where could we go that no one else could go? Like, we'll give the research away for free.
Wow.
Because they could never follow us. And we would write in a way that was very disruptive. Instead of doing it by role, we would write across the entire organization because disruption does not know departmental boundaries. And so we would find a problem and dig deep into it with design thinking. What is the actual problem here? And then we go and address that problem 3 layers down. And we use social media to blast the doors off of it. And so we get 100,000 readers versus typically 5 or 10,000 for a typical Forrester report. So when you have 10x readers, I need a fraction of them to convert. And when they convert it, they would literally call us up and go, "Have you been sitting in my boardroom? Have you been looking over my shoulder? How did you know I had this problem?" So we went and solved those problems very specifically that we wanted to solve.
I think I need to get my pen. I see why nobody's reading my stuff, but can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah.
So, as a woman, I mean, how was that received? I mean, did that change the way your disruptions were received? Did it, was it better? Was it worse?
Well, I'll just give the people who are listening to this, I'm an Asian American woman. And growing up in Detroit,
okay,
there weren't very many people who looked like me.
Yeah.
So I walk into a room, I was a disruption. From the beginning of my life, I was the only person of color.
Wow.
in my
So
classroom.
just you being there,
Right.
you were already declaring yourself as a disruption.
And so I kind of got used to the fact that I was the only in the room. And it was a disruption every single time I raised my hand. Because for me, it was finding myself in a room where I was the only woman, only person of color amongst a literally room of white shirts and ties, everybody looking the same. And so it was really hard for me to get that confidence to be able to raise my hand, but also to realize that this is the only way I was going to advance, that the only way for me to get my ideas across was to raise my hand when I felt completely unsure, felt like I was disruptive, had no right to be there, imposter syndrome, name all those things. And I got used to it.
Yeah. There's several things you told me that struck me. One is you aren't talking about it, you're talking about impacting the world. You talked about as a kid, the why person, like, why can't cars drive? I mean, thinking about cars driving is thinking about impacting the world. Well, what's your motivation behind, writing the book and the impact you want to have? What drives you?
Well, my purpose is to catalyze transformation, to maximize human potential.
Okay, you've thought about that.
I've thought about this. I've thought about it a lot. And organizations and work, what we're doing here is maximizing human potential. So it is just one of the avenues to be able to do that. I mean, why else do we come together and form organizations? Because together we can do things that we could never accomplish, never aspire to as individuals. And so we agree to come and spend a substantial part of our time in alignment with a purpose and the mission. And so if people are going to put their time and energy and their souls into the work that they do, then let's make it meaningful. Let's maximize people. Let's maximize the time that we spend together. And the best way I can see to solve the myriad of problems we have in this world is to disrupt it, not to incrementally solve the problems, because the problems are way too big for us to do it incrementally. We have to disrupt our way to success.
Okay. You're giving me goosebumps. So one of the things I say is that, especially in healthcare and probably in lots of industries, really, you want to get better faster than everybody else is getting better so you don't get worse. And that's what we call the rat race. That's just incremental improvement. But you can't pursue greatness. You can't get to amazing by incremental improvement. And I think you're 100% correct. And I've seen companies do it all the time. Let's get a little bit better next quarter. Let's get a little bit better next quarter. And before you know it, they don't exist anymore because they haven't paid attention to how they can disrupt to pursue greatness, to be different in the industry. Tell me a little bit about disruption mindset right now. Amazon, everywhere, right? Every platform. Go out, buy it. I'm not going to give away the book, but I do want to ask you a few things about some things that struck me. Burn the boats. I mean, that is scary, right? The example you gave, because I love the history. You're going to battle. You're going to attack the Persians back in the day, and you get to shore, and back in the day, it's not like it's 10 minutes. I mean, they're days on the sea, and they burn the boats, and we're going to take the Persian boat. I love that you use that as an example for.
It was Alexander the Great.
Yeah.
When they went to go fight the Persians, he ordered the boats to be burned. And the men were like, but wait, that's our return. That's our safety route. That's our backup plan.
Yeah.
He goes, we will go home in the boats of our enemies or we will die trying. And this is a story from the Adobe CFO as they were going through this huge transformation.
Yes.
And they were like, okay, let's try things. And then at some point, they go, we've burnt the boats. We're not going. There's no going back. We're only going. And the equivalent of that right now in this age, the Spotify CEO just put out a memo last week. And it was something he put out to the company, but it was about to be leaked. So he goes, I'm just going to post it up there so you all can see.
Right.
And he says, we have to practice reflexive AI. We have to use it as if it is second nature to us.
Yes.
It's alignment with our purpose and our values. Things like, we thrive with change and we are good learners. That's how we do things. And so one of the things they had in there, the most controversial one, was we will not add new headcount unless you have tried everything with AI to see if you can do the work with AI. And if you tried everything, then we can hire somebody. But you have to at least try it.
Yeah.
You have to have explored the possibility. So it was a big shot across the bow because people were like, oh, we're not just incrementally doing things here. We are changing everything that we do as a company.
Yeah.
And he said, look, we typically have been growing 20 to 40% a year. We need our people to grow 20 to 40% a year.
Right. Instead of just adding.
Just a little bit. No, I mean, if the company's growing like that, we want you to grow like that. And you want to be surrounded by people who want to grow like that.
If you were to, if you were to be in healthcare, if you were in my shoes, or you need a better healthcare CEO than me, but if you're in healthcare, how would you disrupt it? Like what was your back in the day driving cards, your why question for healthcare?
Yeah. The number one thing about healthcare is that you want positive patient outcomes. We are measuring everything against how are we impacting patient outcomes? Are the results better? Is compliance there? Are diagnostics coming faster and more accurately? I mean, so many things keep pointing to how, again, the ultimate measure is are people being healthier? Are they getting better? That is the ultimate measure. So everything we can do to say, how do we do that? It could be, again, just making our operations more efficient. It could be looking at the customer engagement. How do we engage with people on a one-on-one basis? Even anticipate when they may have a question before they even have a question. But more importantly is how do we just rethink everything about the way we deliver care from top to bottom?
I think that's brilliant. I mean, I think outcomes, I include in those outcomes how people feel. If they feel like they're getting great outcomes, which is a little different than just quality outcomes, but I totally agree with that. Are you personally disruptive, like in your own personal life? Are you constantly challenging? Because I think that's super hard. I mean, I drink Diet Sprite only, and that's all I drink every single day. I never disrupt myself, but I consider myself a disruptor. So I have a little dichotomy there.
Well, I like to say that we like certain things to be the same. And this is true that if you want to think about the most advanced levels of disruption, you build a really solid foundation of things that do not change. So you can always turn back to them. In moments of change, you can grab your Diet Sprite, feel really good about it, right?
Right.
We need the same thing. If we are disrupting so many things in our lives, we need to know that some things do not change.
So you need an anchor.
You need anchors. You need routines and habits and mantras and rituals. You need guidelines and policies. And I'm the first person to say we need really good governance to do disruption. People look at me like, yeah, but you're the disruption person. I'm like, believe me, the best companies who do disruption are the most well-run companies.
Yeah.
They tell you what you can and can't do, and governance is an enablement tool.
Yes.
They make you go fast when you have good breaks.
Yeah, I always say you can't jump if you don't have a platform.
Right.
If you're on a bed that's bouncing up and down all the time, it's really hard to get that momentum. So that's good to hear.
Yeah. So I try to disrupt myself every single day. I try to have an adventure every day,
Nice.
to do something new and different every day. And, I'll be like, that looks like a stair that goes nowhere. I just was literally walking out of the hotel earlier this morning. I'm like, I'm not sure if that stair goes up. I could just take the elevator. I'm going to take the stairs. Right? A little bit of exercise, intermittent stuff. And then I think it takes me to the ground floor, but I'm not quite sure. Let's have a little adventure.
That's awesome.
So it may not be the most direct route, but it fills my soul to try new and different things. I will drive around. This is my little thing, drives my family nuts. I will drive around town without my GPS on. So I'll look at the route, figure it out, try to memorize it and get there. If I'm really desperate, I'll turn it on, but I'll, navigate around. It's good for my memory. I'll write and make up recipes. Like I'll read a recipe, try to memorize it, and then cook from it. So just little things like this. I will talk to complete and total strangers and imagine that this could be the beginning of a conversation for one of my best friends in the future. You never know.
Yeah.
But I begin every conversation with that possibility because you just never know.
Yes, that struck me. So I think I told you earlier that I've kind of stalked you on YouTube and social media, and one of the things that I thought was amazing is you do these self recordings of parts of the book and sort of things that are important to you, and I showed one of them at one of our huge meetings. So I didn't give you any royalties for that, but just to let you know what happened. And I was struck by how calm you were when talking about disruption. And I think that platform that, I think that what we need to learn in healthcare is that we like calm and we like calm results, but that calm, that platform can be an opportunity for us to disrupt in certain areas. It doesn't have to be frenetic. To be disruptive, you don't always have to be in motion. You have to pick places where you need to be in motion. And I thought that was awesome. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say that calmness is one of the ways that people would characterize me.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, she's just incredibly calm. And as my daughter would say, if there's a disaster happening or a crisis happening, you want my mom at your side. Because I just stay, for whatever reason, I can stay really calm when everything else is going crazy around me. And again, who knows, meditation, who knows, right? But
Yeah.
I'm able to focus and on what's the most important thing at this moment.
Yes.
What do we have to get done? The pragmatic side of me goes, panic isn't going to help here.
Right.
So take a beat, calm down, make sure everyone's together, and then let's go figure out what we have to do.
And that's the key in disruption. If you're confident and calm and you're focused as you disrupt, it doesn't look the same as if you're just running around the room with your hair.
That's unfocused disruption.
Yeah.
You're not going to get anything done.
Exactly.
So again, I will be the biggest pragmatic in the room, saying, how are we going to create this disruption and do it in the biggest way possible with process, with governance, with a plan?
Wow.
Yeah. But otherwise, you're going to be spinning off in every single possible direction.
Right.
It's not a good use of energy. So focus that energy, make sure everyone knows what the plan is. I like to say there are 3 questions that every single person in your team, in your department, executive team, company should be able to answer. 1, what's our future? What's the future we believe in? What are we fighting for? What are we trying to create? Have a shared vision. I like to say, to summarize it, who's our future customer? What are their needs? 2, what's our strategy to get to that person? How do we get to that future? We're here today. Here's the future we want to create. What's the roadmap? That's our strategy. And 3, how am I personally contributing to the success of that strategy? So every single person should be able to answer that. And the more disruptive, the more you want to make sure that everyone can answer those questions. I mean, I could walk into these organizations, and I in particular love LinkedIn and the thing that Jeff Weiner did there. And he would begin every single meeting saying, I'm Jeff Weiner, I'm the CEO, and this is our purpose, to connect the world's professionals. And then he would talk about a strategy point or a value that was relevant to that meeting. And someone asked him, Jeff, we're really sick of you doing this. When are you going to stop? And he said, I'll stop when people stop looking surprised.
Mm.
We need to be reminded why we're doing things, how we're going to do them, what are we trying to accomplish? And we need to be reminded this every single day. So that is the role of leadership. If you're going to lead a disruptive organization, tell people this is the place we want to go. This is how we're going to get there, and be clear that you know how you're going to help that. If you're not, then ask.
Right.
Be clear.
Who's the best? I would say I want to ask disruptive leader, but I think who's the best leader that you've ever had a chance to work with or interview or talk to?
Well, I have not talked to him directly about this, but I have such respect for Satya Nadella at Microsoft. Again, just talk about a human person where humility and empathy are at the center of his leadership. And then just a pure sense of guts that he came in to Microsoft. He was not the obvious choice to lead.
He was a less than 1% leader.
Completely. And kudos to the board to see that he was the person that Microsoft needed. Again, not like Steve Ballmer or Bill Gates, but incredibly visionary. Gave Microsoft back its mojo. I mean, people were like kind of embarrassed to be at Microsoft, and and Microsoft just turned itself around, invested in AI. It's at the center of all of that, and again, as a very large company, disrupting itself left and right. It grew like crazy in 2024 without adding any headcount. So it's, again, I think a company that's very understated. People don't actually see what they're doing. Incredibly disruptive in the way they think and lead, but it's just everyday business the way they do things.
Yeah. That's amazing. I know we worked with Microsoft, right when they were going into all this cloud, and that was sort of the beginning of something different. I mean, they went all in on sort of cloud data. So you personally, you've mentioned several different qualities that you have that have lent themselves to being a disruptor. What would you say your superpower is? I ask everybody, what's your superpower? And it can't be 8 things, and it can't be, well, I'm on time. There's something unique to you. There's an aura that I feel from you. What is that one superpower that you'd say you have?
I'm able to take very complex ideas and simplify them so that people can understand them, and then use them to solve the problems that they have. I can explain things. I can understand really complex spaces and worlds and make it so that it's not so scary anymore for people.
Right. Would you say your family knows about that superpower, or do you think that they would say something?
We'll see. I don't know.
Jordan, what do you think?
Yeah, let's go.
You want
to call?
Yeah, let's call
The lifeline?
Yeah, let's.
Okay.
So just while we're doing this, everybody, we try to call a family member or a friend. And so Charlene was gracious enough to. Who are you going to call?
My partner, Dave.
Okay.
So I'm going to call him now.
Oh, let's see. So we get the.
Get this on here. Are you hearing it?
Yeah, we can hear it. Yeah. I don't hear the ringing.
I hear it.
Oh, you good? Okay.
Sure.
Hey, hi, Dave. You can hear me okay? Great. You got Moo here too on the podcast.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Well, we appreciate your time. I know this is we have a spot that we do on our podcast. We're here with Charlene, and she's just amazing. But one of the things we asked her what her superpower was, and we like to verify. We don't trust people, and so we want to ask you what you believe her superpower is.
Sure. She's got a lot. I understand I'm only allowed to say one. So I'll mention the first thing that came to my mind, and that is her ability to explain complex things in a really simple way. And I'll give an example of the introduction to the book that she's writing right now, in fact, about AI. I know nothing about AI. I know very little about corporate management and integrating procedures into corporate processes. And after reading the introduction, I understood it so well from the just the clear language and simple explanation of complexness. It's something I like to think I'm not bad at myself. Uh, and so I really notice it and appreciate it in others. And that's a superpower of hers, without a doubt.
That is so awesome. You were 100% right on. That is exactly what she said was her superpower.
Oh, no kidding.
100%.
Yeah,
Almost word for word.
I'm convinced you were texting him while you guys were talking.
I can verify. There were a lot of fist pumps going on in here, Dave. So
Yeah.
thank you.
This is actually one of the most right spot on we've ever had, which just speaks to the fact that that it is a superpower and other people see it in you. So we appreciate it. Thank you so much. Sorry to take your time, but it was wonderful getting to talk with you.
Yeah. Thank you. You completed the verification process.
Awesome.
Thanks. Talk to you later.
Okay.
Sorry, talk to you later. Bye.
Wow.
Okay. What does my daughter do? You do the and you sure you weren't texting?
I did not text him.
Right on the nose.
Did not text him.
That was right on the nose. And I love the example that he gave about you writing your book and how to simplify. That is awesome. That's the closest one. We had one other, Marty Bennett, right, Jordan? Marty Bennett was imagination. And he called his mom and his dad.
Actually, his mom,
That's great.
called his mom first. She didn't answer, so he called his dad.
Yeah.
Then his mom called back. So we were like, just take the call. And we had to ask her the same question. She had the same answer.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, it's been a cool experience to, bring other people into the podcast.
It's a great experience. Thank you.
So, big gulp.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Tell me.
Well, I think big gulps are those moments when suddenly you realize you're about to make a really big decision, right? And you know that there's going to be life before and life after. And that's when you take a big gulp and you're like, how do I make this decision? Really big one, tough one. And disruption is filled with those moments. And the way I like to think about it is that you have to prepare yourself for the big gulp moment.
Mm-hmm.
You never know when it's going to come. It's going to come, and you may have minutes, seconds to make that decision. And we have big gulp moments all the time, every day. Like people ask you a question, and they're deciding whether to work with you or not, to stay with you, or to make an investment. But you never know, right? And the way I like to think about it is when you face those big gulp moments, how do you prepare? You make mini gulp decisions constantly. And people will ask me, how do you prepare for the big gulp? And you take lots and lots of little ones. You don't get to do a big gulp overnight. Sorry.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you gotta set up for it.
Yeah.
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 One of the things that I think, I wouldn't say it's a frustration of mine. Jordan knows this about me. It's more of people like to say that they're agile, especially when you're running a company or you're part of a big company, that, hey, we're agile. We change with the tide. And then changing with the tide to me is very different than disruption. It means you're kind of just going along. But one of the questions that's always asked to me is, Moo, how do we know we're prepared for the things that we don't know are coming? And I always find that that's an interesting question, because if I don't know they're coming, then how can you prepare for that thing? Well, I'm interested to hear your answer, but I always say to them, I believe that we have the right framework, the right teams, the right infrastructure, and the right mindset to be able to pivot very quickly to those big gulp moments. And that's what we're building. We don't build for 762 eventualities in the multiverse. What we do is we create an engine and a framework that can navigate those. But what say you? What say you when you're talking with somebody and they say, well, what if this happens and what if that happens, and how do you teach people to game plan for that through disruption?
People love to have certainty. Right. We crave that. Like, okay, what are my chances? I want to know that it's going to be 100% successful. Like, well, if you know it's going to be 100% successful, then you're just not taking any chances. You're not, again, pushing yourself to the limits of what's possible. Again, I'm talking about maximizing potential, not just optimizing for the least common denominator.
Right.
So again, I like to do premortems. So
like
what are the
that.
things that are going to go wrong? And we anticipate them as much as possible. What is the scope of things? But instead of trying to figure out all the different permutations, what are the signals that we can figure out are going to tell us that the world is changing in one direction versus the other?
Mhm.
And then I am going to, if I map out using scenario now, I love scenario analysis of strategic planning. So if I can map out all the scenarios, then what's the common denominator across all of the choices that are just must-dos? And then what are the things that are going to tell us, the signal flares that we have to watch to tell us the future is working in one direction versus the other, and then be ready to act on those. So it's not just leaving things to chance, but it's not also saying, I'm going to plan out for every single eventuality.
Mm.
I was speaking with the CEO and chairman of Nokia when they were going through all these changes. This is about 10 years ago. And I'm like, how did you do this huge amount of change? I mean, they sold their handset business to Microsoft.
Yeah.
One day it went through and it didn't go through. I mean, it was just crazy what they did. And I went, what was it like? They had things like 64 board meetings in 1 year. I'm like, what was that like? Was that insane? He goes, no, actually, everything was really calm. Because we knew what the possibilities were. We knew what alliances and acquisitions we needed to make for the strategy to succeed. And my board meetings was just to call and give everyone an update. And depending on what happened, we would just pull out the other strategy plan that we had. So this is really good planning,
Right.
really good anticipation of what the future could look like. And you have a plan, but you also have a culture that can adapt to that plan. And you're not going to implement a strategy that you don't think your culture is going to be able to take.
Right.
So
Right.
I talk about culture being such an important part of your disruption plan.
Absolutely.
Because if you have a great culture, you can make the strategy work. If you don't have a great culture, it'll completely decimate your strategy.
Oh, wow. You dropped so many, whatever proverbial microphone that you have that you can drop. I know I can't drop this one, but that was amazing. I probably looked at 78 videos on YouTube of yours. So whatever certificate you can send me. I don't know if I've graduated, but I've definitely participated in the classes. But the video that stood out to me most, I thought, was a video actually of disruption. I'm not sure why you posted it, but I feel like it's a description of disruption. So, Jordan, can you play that video?
I want you to look up at the air.
Feel so scared. Got it?
That's it?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Let's take a look.
See, that's what Dr. Bear said. It's really shallow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is my favorite video. I mean, of all the ones, I mean, you're talking about some amazing things, but the one, this is like a short, I mean, it's a reel, because, we have to talk to my daughter's generation and my son's generation. It's a reel about disruption. I mean, he starts, he's scared, he's nervous, he's taking big gulps that he's prepared for, because obviously you talk to him about it, and then they pull the tooth, and he's like, you seriously? He's like, he's rinsing, yeah. And then
He's a thumbs up.
yeah, so
right?
tell us about, I mean, this is your son.
Yes, my son.
Yeah.
This is a long time ago. And the reason I posted that is because I was hoping that somebody would like show that video to their kid. And it's like, it's not that big a deal. Pull your tooth for you because it's causing you misery here. You'll be so much happier when it's done. See, this kid did it. Because I couldn't find one to show him. So that's why I did that. And it's, again, when you don't know and you see something like that and you can see, oh, it's not that bad. If other people have been through it, when you hear stories of disruption, when you can walk in somebody else's shoes and that path has been trodden ahead of you, it's so much easier.
Yeah.
And it also gives you the confidence, I think, again, that you can set out on that road yourself. I believe in practice. Again, this is why I believe disruption is a learned skill. You can always be more disruptive. And
Yeah.
I like to say, you're doing it right when your palms are a little
Yeah.
ready and your stomach is a little churning. So I think I shared a little bit with you before that I do cliff jumping as a way to test myself, to push myself. I get my
Oh,
palms
my
are
goodness.
sweating a little
Your
bit here
palms
now.
better be sweaty.
Yeah.
That's cliff
Because
jumping.
it is, I love it. I love that. My favorite amusement park ride was called the Drop Zone, when they haul you up 30 feet and then you don't know when it's going to happen. They just drop you. I love that ride because the acceleration into my stomach and 100% safe, right?
So just describe. So cliff jumping, you have a parachute or what?
No, it's not that bad. But
Okay.
I started just jumping off of cliffs into water, like 5 feet off a rock into a river,
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, this is really fun. I mean, the first time that you're looking over that edge, like, right? But you know that thousands of people have gone before you and they all survived.
Yeah.
You're not going to get hurt. There's no rocks on there. And so I would go around and find places where I can, when I go hiking or, to places, I'm like, oh, is that a cliff you can jump off of? Yeah. Okay. I'll go jump off of it. So 5 feet, like 10 feet, then 15 feet, jumping off of houseboats at 20 feet. And this summer in Hawaii, I got to jump off of 30 and 40-foot cliffs. So that was super fun. And you realize it's really high up there when you're like, where's the water? It's not here yet. It's not here yet. And there it is. So when you have time to actually say, well, but I'm still falling. That's a big cliff.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that, again, you don't get to jump off a 30, 40-foot cliff on the first try. Although we did have a teenager traveling with us. She had never done anything. She jumped off the 30-foot cliff.
That's amazing.
That was her
kudos
first
to her.
time jumping off.
Any cliff.
Wow.
And she wanted to do it because all her friends were doing it. And she was like, I don't know. She was super nervous. And she saw all of us doing it. And there was someone in the water goes, okay, I'm going to count to 3 and jump on 3. 1, 2, 3. And she just jumped.
Wow.
So it was amazing for her.
There's so much I've learned from you, and there's so much I agree with. This is not one of them. I ain't jumping off no cliff. I went to Rick's Cafe. And if you ever go to Jamaica in Montego Bay, there's Rick's Cafe. It's a cafe where they have a cliff. And there's multiple small ones, 5 and 10. And then there's one up top. I think it's probably like 25, 30. And these guys are jumping and doing flips. And I would not even get in the water off the 5 foot. It's such a, you're right. So I need to promise myself to do that.
Not for everyone.
Not for
but it's one of those things where I just feel that it's a way that, again, just to tell a story, how we all find our edges.
Yeah.
And you don't know how far you can go until you push your edge.
Yeah.
So I think I'm at my limit at 40 feet.
Yeah.
I really have no desire to go any more than that.
I think there's also things that you have to consider too. I mean, how you enter the water, because I think beyond that, you could hurt yourself.
Yeah, I have learned that the way to go in is ran straight, have no splash like the divers off the Olympic boards and stuff. But you want to go in straight, not flailing and everything.
Yeah.
But I go, you see the video of me jumping off that cliff. I'm going in straight, right from the edge. So there are things we learn along the way from lots of not so successful jumps, more painful jumps. But I feel that when you're disrupting, to tell your team, this is the edge of what is possible.
Yeah.
Take your team out to the very edge. Take them, show them, this is what we want to be. This is where we want to go. Take a walk with me on the edge. And instead of retreating back to safety, we're going to stay here at this edge.
Yeah.
And we're going to stay here together. And if you should falter, if you should stumble, we will be right here with you. We've got you. And I sincerely believe that the difference between anxiety and excitement, right? You could be really anxious jumping off that cliff, or you could be excited about it, is confidence. Knowing that thousands of people have done this before me gives me confidence. Knowing that I've jumped off previous cliffs with the right form and everything gives me confidence. And I also know that, frankly, my definition of confidence is that you know that no matter what happens, you're going to be okay.
Right.
that if you jump into this disruptive space, you're going to be okay. So how do you develop that confidence? It's from repeat. It's from knowing the people around you are aligned with you.
Right.
They will keep you safe. And that allows you to do so many amazing things you never thought possible. It's not about being successful.
Right.
It's about knowing that you'll be okay no matter what the outcome is.
That's great. That's a great thing. So going back to the book for a minute, for people who haven't read it, and I know a lot of people have read it, but for people who haven't read it, what would you give as a trailer? What would you say is the number one, sort of message or feeling, or, it's like Marvel, when you watch Marvel and you see, the Hulk and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to see this. They give away some parts of it, but you don't know the whole story. So what's that for disruption mindset?
If you ever wanted a methodology to be disruptive, it's your handbook. Because people would ask me, the reason I wrote the book is people was like, okay, you talk about being disruptive, so how do you do it? And I went, oh, that's a really good question. I don't actually have a methodology. And so I really set out to understand what was it that disruptive companies do. And they would never say it, but it was this focus on the future customer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They are obsessed with the future. They're obsessed with their customers. They're incredibly customer centric. And they do everything possible to convey to their teams, this is the future we are building. And they won't actually ever say, this is the center of what allows us to be disruptive, but it absolutely is the common thread. So all the stories, everything, it's about this future that you paint.
Yeah.
And then having the leadership that creates a movement, and then a culture that can deal with all the flux.
Awesome.
But it is literally a handbook to say, this is the roadmap of how to create a disruption and also on Medium. So you can find me in those two channels too.
All right.
Awesome. All right. Good.
We're done.
Anything else? You got
No,
anything else? That was great.
Thank
that was
you.
great. I mean, that was great. That was a big gulp. Yeah. Okay. So, one of the things that, as a disruptor, and my team knows this, my organization knows this, the partnership knows this, like, I'm a constant disruptor. And it's to the point where sometimes it can be disruptive. But, the one thing I know about it is that being in that constant disruptive mindset, it's lonely. It's almost like sad and lonely in a way. Like you always feel alone, like you're on an island somewhere. And you always feel like, I got to convince everybody to come. And then sometimes you just, you're just wallowing in your disruptive, lonely world. So is that, is this book going to help me not be sad anymore?
I look at it this way. Again, I talked about one aspect of knowing disruption is you're doing it right because your palms are sweating. The other side is this word that you just said that so resonate with me. It's lonely. Because no one else sees the world like the way you do. And you feel like either I really have something here or I am crazy. It is exhausting. It is exhausting to hold that up and to push it out there into the world, constantly pushing for that change. Now, it's great if you're in a place of power to be able to make that change happen. But even then, you're like, wait, does no one else see the world this way?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how could you miss it? And you just want to like lift the blinders off of people.
It almost feels like the Matrix, when you're seeing all these numbers coming down and you're wondering, why aren't you seeing those numbers?
Right. So I again, this is where I talk about that leadership aspect of it. And I wanted to explore this a little bit because, and the reason why I focus so much on leadership, you will oftentimes feel like you're the only person speaking, blowing into the wind, just like it's not catching anywhere. And this idea of the first follower is so important. To have that first person who can follow right behind you and validate that you are not crazy.
Yes. Yes.
And to have that network of people who can support you. It could be your board, it could be your family, it could be friends, it could be other disruptors who say, yeah, I've been there too. Stay the course. Stay the course.
Yeah.
You're doing the right thing. And again, who are the people you're going to bring to the edge with you? who are the people going to hold you up
Yeah.
when you're holding everyone else up? And you have to feed that. You have to find the time and the space. Bill Gates would go off for a week to a remote island and just think, gather his thoughts. We all need time to be able to be our best disruptive selves by slowing down, getting that center. And it could be in between meetings, right? It
Right.
could be a retreat. But one of the things I practice is just taking a deep breath in between my meetings. It takes 10 seconds. And I ground myself, prepare myself for the next thing. Because we have to recharge. Because people are counting on us to be our best disruptive self. So
Yeah.
I wish that for you.
No, thank you. I needed that therapy. And so I will go ahead and send me the bill for that. 'Cause, yeah, it's an interesting, I think the last thing I'd say about it is that, and you mentioned this with several of the companies. I forget which company it was. I think it was Adobe, where they went to the subscription model, and the stock price is going through the roof, but the revenues are terrible, because people are making the transition, right? And so I think it's to your point about dashboards, the disruptive dashboard, for an individual is very different than the dashboard for an organization. And so you have to really look through those things that, okay, what is an indication that my disruptive efforts are going to get us, down to the bottom of the water off that cliff versus, what is the revenue and what are those things that are immediately at the top of the cliff that may actually, your disruption could detrimentally affect them in the short term.
Mhm.
And I think that's the part where anything else any last thoughts for the audience? Any things you want to leave them with?
I think one of the things that permeates a lot of the work that I have is optimism.
Mm,
So again, we sort of talked about that disruption. You can think of it as a positive outcome or a pessimistic outcome. If you look at the pandemic, that was the biggest disruption we all had to go through. It was a universal experience. We all have that as an experience. Nobody could have ever dreamed up something like that. You could never have forecasted, done scenario analysis to figure that we'd close the entire world down.
right. In the
Right.
span of hours.
Yeah, just like it was,
Yeah.
again, 5 years ago, exactly. We were sitting in this liminal space. And look at where we are.
Yeah.
We dealt with that disruption. And we dealt with resilience. We dealt with again, the people who did really well, and I could actually say thrived during the pandemic, were the optimists.
Mm,
So you can look at this disruption and look at it from a pessimistic world and say, oh my, this is terrible. How are we going to do? We can duck and cover, right? Or you could say, there's an opportunity here. How are we going to learn? How are we going to grow? How are we going to make things better? And I look at all the restaurants who were shut down. Some just went, I'm just going to go out of business. The other ones go, I'm going to pivot. I'm going to be persistent. I'm going to be
right.
relentless.
I'm going to put chairs outside.
I'm going to do whatever it takes to survive. And so those are the people who thrive. So optimism, resilience, that relentlessness that you so eloquently talk about. But again, I think in the end, it's this optimism that looks at disruption as an opportunity for change.
Well, you have made me optimistic. You've literally given me goosebumps on 3 or 4 different things, maybe more than that, just because my exploratory journey into disruption and the framework that you give. I would say that you've also done an amazing job. Your superpower is true, because we've talked about some complicated things, Jordan, and I understand them simply. So you're even someone as dense as me can learn. And so really appreciate you. I mean, again, I don't think words can convey how happy we are that you're here, that you're spending time with us. I'm also going to give a little bit of a plug. Charlene is going to be speaking at our Women in Leadership event, our Culture Brilliance event in the fall in November. That's going to be open. We're going to have a lot of amazing women there. We're going to have women disruptors, women that are building companies, women leaders in healthcare, women who want to be leaders but aren't leaders currently. And so I think that it's all these messages are going to be so profound. So thank you again for coming. It'll be a great time with you.
No, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. right. What we leave out.